This is Larry Lawton, and he's an ex-jewel thief. Larry's a former career criminal, once considered the biggest jewel thief in the United States.
And the other trooper, they had two troopers to a car, he goes and opens my glove compartment in my car, and $35,000 falls out. Okay, everybody, welcome back. Hope you're liking this format. It's pretty cool. And this chapter is called The Single Life. And boy, was it a single life. At this time, you know, I had a kid, I was married, and I was married to Rosalind, and she was getting tired of me. I was going back and forth. I didn't care about anything, man. I was just a crazy wild guy. When I say I didn't care, I used to go out all day, all night, come home, and both of my wives, and my first wife, Rosalind, she come from a kind of connected family, if you want to call it that. They grew up in the Brooklyn, all of that, and she knew I had rules. You couldn't just call me. You couldn't call the bar where I was at and say, "Where's Larry?" You couldn't beat me. Back then we had the beepers, if you guys remember beepers. Beepers, you could put 911 into the beeper and they'd call you right back from a payphone or whatever. You couldn't do that. In my life, you couldn't do that. You know, in the gangster life, if other guys saw you couldn't even control your wife, you wouldn't get any respect. And I had a lot of respect, so it's kind of wild. But my wife was getting crazy. You know, she couldn't handle it anymore. I'll remember one story. You know, I come home and I'm out all weekend, and I come home. I barely say anything. I come home, and she goes, "Where are you going?" And I said, "I'm going back out." She takes keys and throws them at me. Don't do that. She doesn't throw them at me. She knew she couldn't hit me. So she threw them, and she broke one of those Cura cabinets, like the nice cabinets where you keep those precious moments and all. She broke all these precious moments, things that were hers. I mean, obviously, when I bought them, they were hers, and I'll never forget. But that's when the end was. I knew it was over. Matter of fact, even a story about, how I love my kids, and my son at the time was a young kid, about three or four maybe. I'll never forget, because after I did pick him up, what happened was she didn't want me to see him for some reason, trying to get a little bit bitter. She was pretty bitter. And I was going crazy. I even went to Willie to weep with my boss. I said, "Man, Willie, I don't give a f. I'm seeing my kid. I don't give a shit. This is my kid, blah, blah, blah." He gets, "Larry, calm down. Crazy Larry, calm down." He calls my father-in-law and says, "Hey, Lenny, Larry's crazy, We don't need him to go off the charts or something and do something stupid, but he wants to see his son, Lawrence." And sure enough, we had a sit down, they call it. So Lenny and I meet at a diner I'll never forget. It was on 65th Street in Brooklyn, and I think 7th Avenue, before you get on the highway to go to Manhattan. And we sit down, say hello pretty much. It's not long, have a cup of coffee. And I told him, I want to see my kid. This is whatever happens between us happens, but I want to see my kid. And he says, "I agree. 8 a.m. Pick up your son at 8 a.m. tomorrow." Word was never sent. I'll never forget, because when I picked my kid up, I'll never forget this to this day. He jumped in the back seat, and this is back in the this is now 19, maybe 89, 90 maybe, and No, it was 92, because my son was born in 89. He was about 3. He squeezed me and, squeezed me around my neck from the back seat. Now, I just love that stuff. I mean, he just jumped in the back seat. And it was just amazing. But anyway, my wife had enough of me, and we ended up splitting. I even did dual duty with her. Before we even split, I flew her back up here to Brooklyn from Florida. Got an apartment on 71st Street and like 13th Avenue. Even got another apartment for my stuff. I mean, not personal. It was like a stash pad. I used to keep guns, and I used to keep drugs, and I keep money, and I'd party with broads there, and I'd do all that shit. Anyway, So we end up divorcing. This is the single life. Now I've become single. Boy, do I take my house, I make it into a bachelor pad. I put a gym upstairs with the mirrored walls and all that, with the weights and rubber floors, the whole works. I take out an area downstairs. I put a pool table. I put a 9-foot bar with a stereo system that went throughout my house back then. I had 5 different zones that you could party. I had a 3-man jacuzzi in the back. And the parties I used to throw were fests. And when I say like orgies, man, I was pretty crazy. I had a lot of fun. And it was crazy. I'd have 9 women and 3 men in a jacuzzi, all naked, and it was just crazy. The parties were crazy. I used to, get the parties going and go different places and set up my warehouse. I probably told this in a previous chapter. Set up a warehouse where I kept my limousine. I had a bar in there, the bookmaking station. I had a big TV and phones and pull-out couch and another bar in there. So it was pretty wild, and I lived a pretty crazy life. Talking about partying, I took my buddy Tommy. It was his 30th birthday. So I was comped. Comp means you can get free stuff from casinos. When you're a big gambler, they give you stuff, it's called comped. So I used to get everything. It's called RFB, room, food, and beverage. And in my case, I even flew all over the country. If I was anywhere, they'd fly me wherever I want to go, first class, just to come bring money and gamble. I used to put big money in the casino cages. I used to go bring $50,000, put it in the cage just to gamble, and call what they call a marker. So I did that, and here I am partying. To tell you how crazy I got as a single guy, I think I told the story about the horse buying the horses. Well, it even got crazier than that. So here I got the limo, I got partying, and I go to New York, and we're hanging out in New York, and my buddy says to me, he goes, Tommy says, I said, I'm going to take you to your birthday party. We're going to go to the Taj Mahal. Now, if you know who Roger King is, Roger King owned Jeopardy, Wheel of Fortune, Oprah Winfrey Show, King World, distributed by King World. Well, Roger King, I got to know him. He was a friend. So we're at the Michael Moore fight, Michael Moore, Burt Cooper fight. I talked about that in a little last chapter. And we just had some wild times. Tommy was there. Everybody's there. And it just got crazy. The single life got me going crazy. You talk about orgies and coke. And I remember one time we were in Flicks, and we'd lay an 8-foot line of coke. Ounce of coke. I'd take a credit card, lay it out, party till 2 in the morning with a bunch of strippers and all this stuff, and go from the limo to there. I was off the charts, but that's just the life I lived. Back in those days, it was just a crazy, crazy life. Later you can hear about the stuff about what happened in prison and stuff, but now it's just the single life. I'm still on the single life, which was crazy, the gambling and all that crazy stuff I did was just off the charts. Don't even ask me why, and I just got nuts with that. At this time, now, here's my first time I get in trouble with the law, if you want to call it skirt the law. I was with the security company. We were making a ton of money, and the guy I'm with, Paul, didn't want to give me money. He owed me 50 grand. Because we were ripping off these people with the fake hours and everything else, and I was supposed to get a cut of all that. I didn't get it. He says, oh, well, we're not making money. I'm not going to give you the money and all this. I was like, oh, really? Instead of getting crazy, what do? I take a check out of the checkbook in the place for $9,900. If you made it for under 10 grand, the bank don't report it to the IRS. So I get the money. I do it. What does he do, Paul? He reports me to the police. Now, I don't know this at this time. He reports me to the police. Now, already we had a falling out, and I did that, and I left. But I don't know he called the cops. So I end up going on a cruise. It was great. I go on a cruise ship. I met this girl. We were at a bar. I remember, I'll never forget, we're at Colony West Country Club in Fort Lauderdale. I'm a golfer. So we're at the golf course bar, and I meet a girl, and I was with another buddy of mine, 2 buddies. And I say to this girl, bartender, he's hot too, and I say, hey, listen, I said, do you want to go on a cruise? And she's like looking at me. She just meets me. I mean, literally just meets me at the bar. The two guys say, hey, listen, he's not kidding. He'll take you on a cruise. We end up rapping for a couple hours, drinking, partying. She says, yeah, I'll go on a cruise. We set it up for a week later. We go on a cruise. Listen to this, a week later. So I bring a little Coke with me, not much, and I just want to party and fuck around with this broad and everything. So we get on the cruise ship, and the first night's a toga party. I'll never forget. And I'm a real toga. I'm naked and all that kind of crap underneath, and I'm partying. This girl sits down with me at one of the nice dinners and starts talking about how she likes me and wants to, oh, more exclusive. You shouldn't do this on the boat. I says, listen to this. I says, get the fuck out of here. Just get the fuck out of my room. I go up to the purser on the ship, and I tell the purser on the ship, get this broad out of my fucking room. I'll pay for it. I don't give a shit. Give it a fucking money. Here's the money. Just get it the fuck out of my room. I end up partying all week. She got out of my room. I partied all fucking week. The night before we pull in, I had some little Coke, and I had, little bottles. These used to put the Coke in the bottles with a little spoon on it. I end up throwing the shit away off the ship, and thank God. So listen, at 6:30 in the morning, the last day of the cruise, we're pulling into Fort Lauderdale, 6:30 in the morning. I knock on my door. Room steward. I said, oh God, I'm fucking hungover. I open the door. It's agents. It was customs fucking agents. And they fucking, Larry Lawton, my hands go up. Little did I know, that whole cruise, they were watching me. I didn't know this. And here's a little advice for everybody out there. When you go on a cruise ship, your name is run through a database. And if there's any warrants for you, they're going to get you when you come back into the country. So it's kind of, they watched me on the cruise ship. There was actually 3 people who were arrested on that cruise ship. And it was funny because I didn't know it. Actually, I beat the bar tab. I had over $1,000 in liquor bill. And you in the morning before you leave, you go pay it at the purser's office. I didn't even get that. I beat them for the liquor bill because I was arrested off the cruise ship. But anyway, I'm standing. I got my hands behind me, cuffed like this. I'm standing. Obviously cruise ships, they got all the stairs going up to different levels. And they got 3 of us. Now, we're up against the wall. I'm dressed nice. I got my Hawaiian shorts. I got my Bally's of Switzerland. I used to love those shoes. I got a Hawaiian shirt. And I'm high up. Now, people you met on a cruise ship are like, hey, how you doing? Great meeting you. They put out their hand. I go, listen, I'm a little tied up. They show them cuffs. They look like, what the fuck? And they like, holy shit. So they just like walk away. I was the first one off that cruise ship in handcuffs, but I was the first one on a cruise ship. Never forget, we went to Dade County Jail. Let me tell you how bad Dade County Jail was. Dade County Jail, this is right after Hurricane Andrew in 1992. So I'll never forget that year I got arrested there. So we get into Dade County Jail. Now, I know something about jails. I was a rough kid growing up. Never forget. So I know, first of all, the jail has gotten, barely had electric just turned on. The phones were messed up. I couldn't call. It's a long distance call from Miami to Fort Lauderdale. I know that sounds crazy, but back then it was out of the county. So, and they only gave you a local call, so nobody knew I was in that jail. I couldn't even get the phone to use the phone to get a phone call to tell anyone I was at the jail. So I'm at the jail, and we're in a 16-man cell block. It's like a pod, they call it, and it's 32 people in it. 32 guys in the 16-man pod. And I go, oh shit, I'm the only minority white guy. Everyone's either black or Hispanic in this whole jail. So I'll never forget, I walk in, I see the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air is on, if you remember that show, Will Smith. So I go right up to the TV, and I turn the channel to the news. A big black guy stands up, and he's what they call the house man, which is like he runs that pod. And he runs things with bunks and how clean, the signs, what they call orderlies. He's the house man of that pod. He just says, boom, I hit him. And I can hit. He don't go down. Oh, shit. So we get to fighting. Broke my hand. I got blood. He hit me in the throat so hard. I could barely talk, and the guards come running, all that shit, and they dragged me out of that cell and took me into the hole for the night. One night. Next day, they throw me back in the same pod. I'm like, oh shit, man, what do I gotta do? He looks at me, and I look at him, and I thought I was gonna be fighting again, and he goes, I got a lot of respect for you. I said, whoa. He takes a kid who's on a top bunk. Now remember, there was only 16 beds in this place, so 16 other people are on the floor. He takes a guy off a top bunk and gives me the bunk. So I said, okay, I'm doing all right now. Here I'm a 30-year-old guy. Got my own bunk. I'm rating. I got to figure out how to get a call. That was my whole goal, get a call to get out, let people know I'm here. Or they're going to also transfer me back to Broward, because that's where the charge was when he reported this check writing thing. It really wasn't a check writing thing. The fucker didn't want to give me my $50,000 that he owed me, because we were ripping off the school board and all these accounts for bullshit hours, and I was getting that signed. I set up a whole bunch of stuff like that. So anyway, I'm sitting in my top bunk, and I hear something about 1:30 at night, because they serve breakfast at 3:30, but I hear something about 1:30. There's this little dude trying to steal my shoes in the pod. I don't know what you're gonna do with him. I fell off the bunk and I hit him, boom, and I'm fucking hitting his head into the fucking concrete, bam, bam, and his face explodes, and the houseman ends up grabbing my arm, and I was like, I'm hyped. You don't do that in prison, but I'm hyped up. And then the guards come running in. This guy's laying there on the floor, and everybody in there said, hey, that kid was a thief. So nothing happened to me. They just took this guy out of the cell again, and that was the end of him. But that was a hell of a crazy jail, and I said, oh boy, this is. But I was a little pissed. I says, this motherfucker, I'll tell you what, he actually had the balls to report me for taking that money when he owed me $50,000, knowing I couldn't say anything. Now I couldn't say anything. One, I wouldn't rat anyway, but how would I get if my picture's on the paper? He is in the headlines, security company steals funds from school board and hotels, and my picture's in the paper, and I'm robbing jewelry stores making money. Couldn't happen. So anyway, I said, okay, I'm gonna get this guy. Tell you what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna torch his business. I know you're thinking I'm crazy. I am crazy. I was crazy, not anymore. And I don't condone any of this. Someone said I should put a disclaimer. Believe me, this is for entertainment. This is a disclaimer right now. Don't do this. So anyway, you could take a 2-liter bottle of Coca-Cola or seltzer or whatever it is, plastic bottle. You empty the liquids out and you fill it with gasoline. You then puncture the top of the cap with a knife, so it's just a little slit. Then you take that and you lay that right near a door of any room you want to burn, and you squeeze it. The gas shoots out of that, and it actually goes under the door, and it squirts into the unit, because none of those doors are sealed 100%. So it goes in there, and then you light a torch, and the fire goes right under the door, and it torches the place. So I do that. Next 2-3 days, I go by, and I see there's got the grates on the door, like the steel grates, and you can't get into them, the steel grates. So what do? I take a Molotov cocktail, which is gas, and you put gas in a bottle, and you put masking tape, and you put a rag, and you light the rag, and you throw it, and then the fire catches on when the glass breaks. I threw it on the top of the building. So then I find out from my attorney that they're looking at me for if I did this arson. I said I didn't do anything, never did anything. They never caught me for that, never did anything. And I felt that I got enough revenge, if you want to call it that, for him screwing me out of that. And I'll bet he thought twice about doing that to anybody else. But I was just crazy. So, living the single life, making money. Now I'm robbing. I didn't want to get beat. I had a hell of a crew. I go to my buddy's bar up in Melbourne, Florida now. Actually, it's in Melbourne, and I'm living in Fort Lauderdale, but I'm running bookmaking operations because my parents live up in Palm Bay in Brevard County. So, and I'm in Broward County. It's a little over 2-hour drive. So I take my Cadillac, I'm pretty drunk, and I drive it up on one of those curbs, you know, the big things where it stops the wheels, you know, those big things. So I go in drinking. I'm half wrapped. Everybody knows me in there. And I come out of the bar and I get in my car and I can't get my car to come over this thing. I'm drunk. That's how crazy I was. I take a pistol out and I shoot my own car. 3 fucking shots into the hood of the car. I go put my gun back in my holster. I had a holster, side holster. I put it back and go drinking at the bar. All of a sudden, 15 minutes later, there's 4 guns pointing at me. It's cops from the area. So I come back and I still have a privatized license. You know, I had that license, so I was allowed to have a gun. I didn't do anything that bad yet. Back then, you could still have a gun. And what do? I fucking get arrested. Never forget, I get arrested. And next day I go to pick up, I get bailed out by my parents, actually. My mom and dad came to get me at 4 in the morning in the jail here in Melbourne, Florida. So I'm back down south. I go down south, and I'm just living a crazy, crazy life. And so for that incident, when I got with shooting up the car, they arrested me. They end up charging me with discharging a gun in the city limits, because I had a license for the gun, but they end up charging me for that. So, of course, I have a lawyer. I come up here, and we all got it set up. The lawyer says, we got this. So what do? I get a hat. I rent a hatter's boat with a captain that I did before, a couple of buddies of mine, and 2 hookers. So this is a great story, because I learned something about the court system right then and there. We're waiting. I got the hatterist. My buddy's got food and booze, and the broads are on the boat waiting for me. The minute I'm done with court, we're going out fishing. So here I am. I get on in the courthouse, and here it is. It's 9 o'clock, and I'm asking my lawyer. We're first up. I said, "What's going on? Where is he?" And I brought my lawyer from Fort Lauderdale. He goes, "Larry, it's soon. I go, "Man, it's 9 o'clock. The judge is late." He goes, "No, it's not 9 o'clock. I go, "Bullshit, it's 9:20. Now it's 9:30. I'm getting mad. Where the fuck is this judge?" He goes, "Larry, calm down." So he goes, "Let me tell you something. It's not 9 o'clock until that judge walks in the room." Meaning, you got no say. These judges run everything. Sure enough, judge runs everything. I get 5 years probation and some little bullshit fine. So my lawyer and I head down to go to the boat. Now the Hatteras is a beautiful 60-foot Hatteras. We're going fishing. I got these 2 hookers on the boat, and the owner of the boat is on there. Now the captain who captains the boat is the guy that I know, and I give him a big tip. He knows me, and I used him before. So the owner's trying to show me the boat. "Oh, look at the new stuff I put around the ram." And I said, "Get the fuck off the boat." And he looked at me. I said, "Get the fuck off this boat. I read this. I'll throw you in the fucking water." The captain runs down off the bridge. Says, whatever his name was. "Hey, I got him. He's good custom, whatever." So we get going. By the time we cleared the bridge to go to the ocean from the intercoastal waterway, the 2 broads were naked on the back of the boat. And my buddy and I are in a fighting chair and another chair, drinks. And we're looking at these 2 hot broads. Talk about crazy. I sent the girls up to give the captain a blowjob and everything. Funny, I catch a fish. I'm in the fighting chair. And I had a fish hooked. I caught something. And I'm screaming for help. Nobody's around. The captain, everybody's down below in a fucking mini orgy down in the fucking cabin. And I'm fucking... The fish I get in, it was half eaten by either a barracuda or a shark. Whatever I caught was half eaten. It was crazy. But what a crazy time. Talk about, this is a single life that you start getting crazy with. So the next time I get in trouble, and just to show you how much time you got and craziness you got, I'm up in New York. I lent my buddy Joey $35,000, a month or 2 before. I was flush with cash. I lent him the money. So he's a drug dealer. I'm the robber kind of that crew, of the crew. So Joey gives me my $35,000 he owes me, and I'm heading back to New York, Florida, and I have Junior, a kid who works with me. And Junior knew, he used to wash my limos, like a little right-hand man guy, get stuff, do everything. He was a young kid. And so I fly Junior up to New York. He's going to drive down south with me because I was up there, and I think seeing my kids or something, and I got the money back. So Joey gives me 35,000. He gives me 5 grams of coke. So it's in half-gram bags, so it's in 10-gram bags, and just gives it to me because I did him a favor. I didn't charge him juice or anything like that. So we're sitting there, and on the way back, I'm pretty drunk, about 80 miles an hour on the Jersey Turnpike, and I get stopped. I'll never forget, it was in December. So I was heading to the Taj Mahal Casino at that time to gamble with the money and head back south to Florida. So I get stopped. I'll never forget, it was a Diamante, I think Chrysler Diamante or whatever car. It was a Diamante. And so I get stopped. It's December 2nd, and the cop pulls me out of the car. I'm freezing, I'll never forget. And I'm in the back of the car, and he's talking to me. And the other trooper, they had 2 troopers to a car, he goes and opens my glove compartment in my car, and $35,000 falls out. And I'm like, what? And they go, where'd you get this money? I said, I sold my Corvette. You got a receipt? No, it's in Brooklyn. I keep a title with me, and I sold my Corvette. And, the guy gave me the money. So the guy gets Junior out of the car, and Junior's standing on the side of the road, and he looks in the center console. What does he find? He finds the coke. I know what the cops thought. They go, wow, we got a drug dealer here. Obviously, I'm not a drug dealer, but that's what they're thinking. So they take us to one of those substations on the Jersey Turnpike, and they call a detective and all of this. And I know the drill. I call my lawyer the first thing. I beep him, 911. Back then, it was the beepers. You beep 911. And I told him, I said, when he called back, his wife, I got his wife. She said, beep him. And I got his wife because she said he was out at a bachelor party or whatever he was. So I get him, and he goes, Larry, you know the drill. I'll have you guys out in the morning. I said, got it. So while I'm waiting in the holding cell, I hear them interviewing Junior. And Junior always knew to say, hey, listen, I wash his limousines and I clean his cars, and he asked me to drive up. They were trying to pressure Junior to talk on me about whatever. He wouldn't do it. Good kid. Wouldn't do it. I know him to this day. And he wouldn't do it. He says, no. And they're saying, oh, you're with a bad guy. That guy's involved with organized crime. We know who he is. Already I had some minor skirmish. They knew who you are. And all of a sudden, I told the cop, I said, listen, before you do your paperwork, I'm going to be out of here. And they're getting mad. They're thinking they got something. My lawyer shuts them up, does nothing. Next morning, we haven't slept. We go to the Atlantic County Jail in New Jersey. So we're in the Atlantic County Jail. They treated me real well at this county jail. I was making phone calls. For whatever reason, they respected gangsters and guys like me. And we get there. And so now I'm bailed out. I'm bailed out at like near 6 o'clock at night. It's December. It's dark. I'm like, oh, man, I'm so beat. I didn't sleep for a day and a half now. No more coke that I did have. It's all out of my system. And I said, how are we going to get there? I call up the Taj Mahal Casino, which I'm comped at. I'm a big gambler. And I says, I need a limo. Send a limo to the Atlantic County Jail. They did. They sent a limousine to the Atlantic County Jail back to the casino. I have no money now because they took all my money. And it's really crazy for this story because in this case, I ended up getting probation again. They couldn't prove anything on the money. The coke was a very minor amount of coke. But did you know they shook me down for 12 grand? So I want my money back. They can't prove the money's bad or anything. And my lawyer says, Larry, they want 12 grand. I said, what the fuck you mean they want 12 grand? He goes, they're going to extort you for 12 grand. I go, I do the extorting here. What are you talking about? He goes, they're going to take 12 grand. They ended up taking 12 grand. That trip, forget the 12 grand. I lost 12 grand there of that 35,000. I did get some of it. But my lawyer bill cost $70,000 because I had to go back and forth from Florida to New Jersey, back and forth, I think 3 times. And lawyers are expensive with that 12. It was about 70 grand I spent that year on lawyers. And I learned a great lesson, man. I says, the stupidest thing I ever done is pay as much as I did to lawyers because I think I could have did better. you know, with lawyer. That's a whole nother chapter I'll talk about when I do get arrested and what a lawyer does to me. So that is crazy. And I'll tell you what, Junior never told, never said anything against me. So I never had a rat on my case, and that's something to say. That's, I guess, good judgment. But the single life was wild for me, and I'll tell you what, it worked out though. I mean, I had some good time, can't complain. More broads than I can even count, and did more drugs and had more fun. And always responsible, because even when I did robberies, in this span, I did a robbery in Palm Bay, Florida at this time, and I do the robbery. And the feds actually, when they ended up getting me on the Palm Bay robbery, they actually thought my robbery was done by 4 guys. Because when I did it, we were 3 guys. We went into the store, we cleaned it out, had it all set. Now, at this place, I was going to come out, get the car, bring it around while they get ready in the store and everything, right? So I opened the door to come out, and after the robbery's done, it was 10 in the morning, cased it well, know the area well, and I come out the door, and I see a mailman up a few stores, coming in and out, giving mail to all these businesses. So thinking quick, I stand at the door. It's got the buzz door, because normally he would get buzzed in to give his mail. And I look, and he comes up. I go, yeah, they just said they'd be back in 5 minutes, you know. He goes, so I got to wait here. And the guy puts the mail through the door slot and just keeps going, because he's not going to wait there for people. And I go, wow. Once he gets into the next store, I leave, get in the car, going around back, get the jewels, and up 95. And back to what my business. And it was just wild, because that single life area time was just killing me, because every time my safe would get under 40 or 50,000, I needed more money. And the single life was a rough life. Boy, did I live it hard. But I can tell you one thing, I did more than most people ever did in their life, and there'll be more on that later. I'm going to end chapter 6 on that. You know, Junior and I got out of jail. We survived that single life, if you want to call it. The next chapter is going to be my last heist. To tell you how I got caught. It's a wild, wild story. If you guys are liking this, please pass the word. I'm enjoying doing this, kind of bringing back a lot of memories. Some good, like I said, some bad. You can listen to the verbatim reading on Spotify or iTunes in the link below. Thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. And like I said, any suggestions, comments, please keep them coming. And we hope you like it.